And maybe we should start with that. So tell us about the merge.
Sure. So the merge is the same thing that the merge has always been. It's the full transition away from proof of work to proof of stake. So there has actually been there's a lot of stuff that has already been done for proof of stake that's in the kind of what's already behind us column to the left. So the beacon chain already exists. There's already been a warm-up fork. Proof of stake already has light client friendliness. But what's left to actually get to the merge, right? So the most recent thing that was finished is the full specification of the merge process. So the specification, not just of what post-merge Ethereum looks like, but even of how the transition process works. So how the process works of like actually changing from one to the other, what is the final proof of work block going to be, how is the first proof of stake execution block going to point to that proof of work block, what happens during edge cases, like what if the chain reorgs right in the middle of that. So all of that's the spec. So this exists. So that's what these testnets have been running. That's what Kintsugi has been running. So full merge specification, test networks in progress, fork choice improvements. So basically there just have been a few bugs that have been discovered in the fork choice rule. This is the function that nodes use to determine like which block is the head block if there are multiple competing blocks based on all of the votes that all the different validators have made. And this is just like adding some armor to make it more robust against certain kinds of attacks. So once that's done, then the merge can happen, right? And once the merge happens, then no more proof of work, right? And so then that's the merge. After the merge, we have the post-merge hard fork. The most important feature of the post-merge hard fork is just enabling withdrawals, right? So the merge itself, just to keep it simple, does not enable withdrawals. But the post-merge hard fork, which there is a spec for enabling withdrawals, but this is something that will actually needs to be done a little bit later.
Just to be clear, Vitalik, this is about withdrawals for beacon chain ether depositors and validators. So
correct.
This isn't about tokens or anything else, right?
Exactly. So if you threw your 32 ETH in and you're a validator, then once the post-merge hard fork happens, you will be able to withdraw the ETH and the rewards and bring it back into the execution layer.
Will everyone be able to withdraw all at once, or how is that?
There is a queue. So if lots of people start withdrawing, then lots of withdrawals will have to wait.
And so to be clear, Vitalik, those are happening in two different hard forks, right? Two different stages here. Mm-hmm. And any idea on how far they will be apart? Will these be like months apart, weeks apart?
Realistically, like maybe 6 months.
Okay, 6 months apart. Okay, so that's the merge, and that means proof of work is gone effectively. We just have proof of stake. What does this mean for the typical user or the typical DeFi application? Will they have to do anything? Do they have to click a button in MetaMask that says like upgrade to merged ETH?
I mean, they'll have to upgrade to merged MetaMask, but they will not have to upgrade their ETH or their applications. So from the point of view of applications, like it's just like any of the hard forks that we've already been through.
So effectively nothing. Effectively, users don't have to do anything at all. Okay, so that's the merge. Let's talk about next. And by the way, with the merge, we haven't mentioned, of course, all the proof of work issuance goes away as well, right? So that's something over 4% or so, and that is now gone. No more proof of work issuance. No more miners on Ethereum for the first time. That's going to be an interesting state to be in. That all happens at the time of the first merge. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk about the second, which is the surge. What's the surge all about?
The surge is scalability increases for rollups through sharding. So basically, rollups by themselves are a layer 2 scaling solution, and the way rollups work is that computation and storage go off-chain, but data stays on-chain, right? And this allows transactions to happen much more cheaply than they would if everything is done on layer 1. But they still inherit the security of layer 1, right? So rollups are this compromise that basically gives us a lot more efficiency than layer 1 with all of the security that users are used to. And it's kind of the best combination of properties among all of the different layer 2 solutions that have been explored. And it's also, I think, the only one that like really properly supports like full EVM scripting, right? Like state channels, for example, they're like they support payments. They can support a few applications, but like you can't easily stick Uniswap in a channel, for example. But you can stick Uniswap in a rollup. So about a year and a half ago, I think, there was this document that I published called the Rollup-Centric Roadmap, where basically say, like, look, rollups are realistically the scaling that's going to come the fastest. And so, and we know that rollups work. The theory behind them is extremely well established. So let's simplify the scaling roadmap by kind of re-architecting the scaling roadmap around being based around rollups as much as possible, right? So the main thing that we get out of that is that instead of the sharding that Ethereum has been planning on having all along, being sharding of everything, so sharding of execution, sharding of accounts, sharding of smart contracts, sharding is just sharding of data, right? So it's this very limited form of sharding that basically says, all we're going to do is we're going to have this kind of data layer, this sort of public billboard that people can stick up to around 2 megabytes a second worth of data on. And when they do this, then the blockchain guarantees that that data is publicly available. It guarantees that the data actually was published and that nobody is withholding it, but it does not try to interpret the data, right? Now, who tries to interpret the data, that's the job of the rollups, right? So the layer 1 just handles data, and it's the rollups' job to kind of convert this highly scalable data plus the little bit of computation that the Ethereum blockchain gives you into a lot of computation. And we've talked about optimistic rollups and we've talked about ZK rollups before, right? So I think people are going to know roughly how this happens. But like the core insight here, right, is basically is that if you sort of lean on rollups as this machine for converting data into execution, then sharding just needs to support data, and sharding can become much simpler.